Hello everyone, back to today's first video, doing JMA Friday for today's first video. So as always on a Friday, we're having a look at the weather for the month ahead. This takes us into the early part of September, so drawing down a close to the summer of 2018. With JMA Friday and the more extended range updates. Now, so we'll start off with the JMA and then we'll have a look at CFS V2, see what they're both showing. Whether they're in agreement for the weather prospects for the next month. Just to say that coming up this afternoon, we'll have a detailed look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. And that's going to take us, of course, well into the second half of August. We'll have a look and see whether there's any signs of the currently quite cool and unsettled weather that we're in at the moment relenting. But let's have a look at the Japanese CFS V2 extended range outputs first of all. So we're going to begin with the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts from the JMA, from the North Pole view down. So that's the North Pole of the Northern Hemisphere, just there, mid-latitudes of the Northern Hemisphere. Around there. Blue extrapolates to low pressure and yellow, orange and red will be extrapolating to high pressure. So for the coming week, and these are broken down to week periods, so the first week period will take us from the 10th today through to the 17th of August. We find for the coming week, we've got below average heights close to the country and also going up to the north as well. So that's something we haven't had for quite a long time, actually. That's a proper trough of below average heights within the 500 millibar flow. It's a proper trough of low pressure within the 500 millibar flow close to the country. So it would be unsettled. We've got above average heights set up over Greenland as well, and the ridge has given us a heat wave conditions. That's been pushed off into eastern parts of Europe. So the flow and the jet is going something rather like that coming through the country. So obviously this is a much cooler and much more unsettled week coming up compared to what we've had through the vast majority of this summer. In fact, I don't think there's any week in this summer since the beginning of it, and probably before that into May. I don't think there's any week that's had such an unsettled 500 millibar height anomaly flowchart as that. So we have experienced a really big change over the past few days. But then we go through to week 2, and we're looking like this. This is going to take us from the 17th through to the 24th of August. So we still have above average heights around Greenland and going down into like the western part of the Atlantic Ocean. But we have an area of above average heights also building to our east as well. Now presumably in between there's some sort of area of low pressure going on around here, although the heights aren't below average. It looks as though the flow and the jet should be going something a little bit like that. So although we do have that area of above average heights just to our east, that still looks as though it could be quite changeable, and particularly so for the north and the west. I would have thought it is likely to be quite changeable there. To the south and the southeast, we are close to this area of above average heights, so you'd expect it to be drier and warmer there. So a bit of a northwest southeast split, I suppose, could be going on during this period with the flow and the jet doing something like that, very close to Scotland and Northern Ireland, possibly bringing unsettled conditions through there. But down in the southeast, there could be a reasonable amount of warmish weather. But even this is a little bit more unsettled compared to what we've had through most of the summer. Then we go through to weeks 3 and 4, takes us from the 24th of August through to the 7th of September. So we're just going into the first week of September with JMA Friday now. And we've got below average heights in the middle of the Atlantic, so again another change has taken place there. We've got above average heights over and to the east of the UK, so a little bit difficult to ascertain what's going on there. I think the flow and the jet is probably still going to the northwest of the country, but this area of above average height should be keeping the country largely dry, I would have thought. It has extended in more compared to what it is in week 2. Remember, it's a 2-weekly anomaly, weeks 3 and 4, so it might be transitional. Possibly something like the final week of August sees a high pressure building in strongly and then maybe it starts to break down through the first week of September, something like that. But overall, it does look as though the JMA wants to continue with quite strong anticyclonic influences once we get this week's unsettled weather out of the way. Now, the only thing I'd say about that is that I don't think either the JMA or the CFS V2 has really picked up on this unsettled weather that we're currently in particularly well. A couple of weeks ago, JMA Friday was wanting to extend, just keep the heat wave going, really, through most of August. We know the heat wave has broken down, it's turned more unsettled, it's turned cooler. The evidence of that is within the week 1 500 millibar height anomaly chart that we've got there. In previous weeks, there's been no indication that it's going to turn that unsettled. So what could be happening is that the model just wants to get itself back to this high pressure heat wave type pattern, although that's not really a heat wave pattern, but it probably wants to get itself back to high pressure very quick, because that's been the default pattern this summer. Whether that actually comes off to that degree, I think we do need to wait to see. I don't think the long range output is performing terribly well at all at the moment. Right, let's have a look at the temperature and precipitation on some anomalies that go with those heights. So we come to a tropical and mid-latitude view. British Isles just here in the top right-hand corner of the chart as you are looking at it. It reminds you of the 500 millibar height anomaly for week 1 with the below average heights to the north and the northwest. And it looks like we're bringing the jet stream through the country as well. So this is a cooler week. Temperatures are holding up around or a little bit warmer than average in the week ahead, but it certainly is a lot cooler compared to the temperature anomalies that we've been seeing through most of this summer. Much, much closer to average than it's been through most of the summer. And also above average rainfall as well, which is something we haven't seen for a very, very long time. I think we have to go back to April to find a week of above average rainfall across the UK. So it's much cooler, it's much more unsettled compared to what we've had in the week ahead, and I don't think the JMA has ever really picked up on this in previous updates. We go through to week 2. This takes us from the 17th to the 24th of the month. So we find that we have above average heights out to our east and also middle of the Atlantic. You can't see Greenland on this view, but we know the high pressure does extend through there. Temperature anomalies are still not that far from average, really. Still coming out quite close to average, possibly hinting being a little bit above average. Most of Europe is looking very warm, though. But for us, actually, our temperature anomaly has come down much, much closer to average for that week as well. It's not as unsettled. The precipitation anomaly looks like that. Still a bit above average for Scotland, otherwise reverting back to drier than average conditions. So that week looks like it's turning a bit drier and a bit warmer as well. And then we go through to weeks 3 and 4 with the above average heights over and to the east of the country as well. It looks like high pressure comes back as we go through to the latter stages of August and into early September. The temperature anomaly remains, again, just a little bit above average, close to or a little bit warmer than average, not anywhere near as hot as it has been through most of the summer. The precipitation anomaly has gone drier than average. So after this cooler, wetter week, the JMA is very keen to go back to certainly drier conditions, not necessarily all that warm, but certainly going back to drier conditions with the JMA as we go through into the second half of August and possibly even extending into early September. Let's have a look at CFS V2. So again, these are 500 millibar heights. Break it down into weekly periods. The first weekly period will take us from the 10th through to the 16th of August. The coming week has below average heights up to our north. Above average heights are pulling back into middle of the Atlantic. And also the high pressure that's given us a heat wave. That's going off into eastern parts of Europe. More influence from the jet stream. The jet stream is coming down through the country. Rather like that, so we have got more influence from the jet, but below average heights to the northwest, probably providing some spells of showers or longer spells of rain as well. Then we go through to week 2, takes us from the 17th to the 23rd of August, with above average heights returning close to the UK, a little bit to our south though, So for England and Wales, that's settling down, but we do have below average heights up to the north. The jet stream is going through in that sort of position. So certainly still rather unsettled, I would have thought, for Scotland, probably quite cool, maybe even Northern Ireland. For England and Wales, that should be a rather drier and warmer week that we have there from the 17th to the 23rd of August. I'd say fair weather rather than anything particularly outstandingly hot. Then we go through to week 3. That one takes us from the 24th through to the 30th of August. The above average heights then moving more towards Scandinavia and also again out into the middle of the Atlantic. So possibly weakening the ridge off a little bit, maybe a bit of an influence of a jet stream starting to return, although that could be quite warm actually, because that could be bringing the air up from a southeasterly type direction, so possibly ending August on quite a warm note, but maybe turning increasingly volatile with showers or thunderstorms breaking out perhaps. And then we go through to week 4, which is the 31st of August to the 6th of September. The above average heights then are moving up towards northern parts of Scandinavia. Still got the high pressure in the middle of the Atlantic as well, with below average heights around Greenland, Iceland. That looks like it's probably turning more unsettled with the jet stream coming through the country a little bit like that. So that one probably is turning more unsettled there through the early part of September, possibly turning cooler and more showery too. Temperature anomalies in the week ahead are close to average, a little bit above average still for England and Wales, close to average for Scotland and for Northern Ireland as well. But week 2 actually turns warmer, so this is the 17th to the 23rd of August, coming out quite a lot warmer than average for England and Wales as the high pressure returns from the southwest. That's a very warm week setting up then. We go through to week 3, this is the 24th through to the 30th of August, above average temperatures for England and Wales, close to average for Scotland and Northern Ireland. And then through to week 4, which is the last day of August to the 6th of September. Again, a little bit warmer than average, or quite a bit warmer than average for England and Wales, near normal for Scotland and Northern Ireland. So again, quite a warm month coming up. Is that just because the model has got itself stuck in this hot summer pattern, can't see an end to it, or will we actually have very warm conditions in the second half of August? It's going to be fascinating to see how that plays out. Precipitation wise, so week 1, the 10th to the 16th of August, comes out average to a little bit, hints at being a little bit above average with the rainfall. So definitely a more unsettled week that we've got here. But then we go through to week 2, which is the 17th to 23rd of August, and that's average to possibly for England and Wales, anyway, hinting at being a little bit drier than average. Week 3 looks like that. It's the 24th of August to the 30th of September. Average with precipitation, maybe a little bit drier than average, or hints of being a bit drier than average for Western Scotland and Northern Ireland. So quite a changeable sort of month really coming up, with anomalies chopping and changing from week to week. And then week 4, which takes us from the 31st of August to 6th of September, average precipitation, maybe hinting at being a little bit wetter than average to the west and to the south of the UK, but it is a very weak signal there through that particular week. So it is a rather changeable scenario. Generally high pressure is dominating through this period, but not to the same extent as it did through June and particularly July. So there's no evidence on these charts, but we're going back to really intense heat, a really intense heat wave and drought that we had through the earlier part of summer. It looks like, famous last words, it looks like that has gone. But nevertheless, there could still be some very warm weather at times, especially so to the south and the southeast. Weather generally set fair for the south, always more changeable up to the north. And then possibly we have an unsettled week coming up this week. Then possibly week 4, which is the first week of September, also hints at something more generally unsettled potentially coming through there with the CFS V2. But in between the final 2 weeks of August, just sort of chopping and changing with the anomalies a little bit, but overall still quite warm, not as hot as it has been, and reasonably dry, particularly so for the south and for the southeast. Right, that's JMA Friday done and dusted for another week. It's all very experimental, so could all look very different next week. Later on today, we'll have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days with the GFS and ECMWF shorter range models. But 15 minutes, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.